Okay, I believe it is recording right now. So, um, as you know, like I said before, we want to write these down, even though it's already written. Write it in your own hand. Write it on your paper. This will be like virtual paper here. 8x. Can you all see that, by the way? Alfredo, can you see it? Yeah. Okay, 8x plus 6y equals negative 14. And then I'm going to put ones here. This is negative 1x. I'm not going to say you have to, but sometimes it helps. Plus 1y is equal to 14. Okay. And I can, I think I'm going to pause this from time to time. Is this the pause button? We can eliminate either variable, and we can decide if you guys want to tell me which one. Anybody have a preference of x or y? It's about the same in this problem, but sometimes one is easier than the others. These two will be about the same. Anybody have a preference? Well, we can eliminate x then. So if we eliminate x, what we want is to have a positive 8 and a negative 8. Well, we got the positive 8, but we don't have a negative 8. And the whole reason yesterday that we did those multiples or those equivalent equations was so that we could end up being able to do that here. So what we want to do, everybody make sure you write that down, what I have, is multiply this equation. Let me put it as a question here. What would we have to multiply this by in order to get a negative 8? What would we have to multiply negative 1x by? Positive 8. Positive 8. Now, when you write this, put the parentheses, because the parentheses means that we're going to multiply everything inside of that parentheses by 8. And like I said before, this method involves a lot of writing. So what we're going to do is write the first equation we didn't change, so we're just going to write it again, exactly the same. 8x plus 6y is equal to negative 14. The second equation, and you don't have to draw these little lines, but we're going to multiply 8 times this, we're going to multiply 8 times this, we're going to distribute. We're going to multiply 8 by everything inside of the parentheses. I'm going to get rid of those blue lines here in just a second. So 8 times negative 1x is negative 8x. 8 times positive 1y is positive 8y. And 8 times 14 is 80, and 80 and 32 is 100 and, I think it's 112, isn't it? 80 and 30, yeah, it's 112. Okay. All right, so make sure you write those down, please. And now, what we can do is eliminate one of the variables. The reason we can eliminate it is because, and this is the reason why we wanted a positive and a negative. If we add those two, 8x and negative 8x, we get the easiest number in the world. What are we going to get when we add this? What's 8x and negative 8x? Is it 0? And it's so easy that we technically don't want to write it. We just want to cross it off. We also add these two, and in a second we're going to add those two as well. If you add 8y and 6y, you get 14y. And if you add 112 and negative 14, which is the same as 112 minus 14, you get 98. Okay? And let me pause for a second, but I have a question, and I want you to think about it. We started this problem with 2 equations, and we started with 2 variables, 2 letters. And now, don't we have an easier problem because all we have is 1 equation, and all we have is 1 variable, 1 letter, okay? So now we've got a whole setup that's way easier than what we started with. What could we do now to solve for y? And let me just give you a hint. We're going to do the inverse of what they did. Didn't they multiply the y by 14? It says 14y. Remember, again, that's times. So if they multiply by 14, what do we want to then do? We want to divide both sides. Yes, let me make more room. We want to divide both sides of that by 14. Divide by 14. And so if you divide that, you're going to get y is equal to 7. A little more room. Y is equal to 7. 98 divided by 14. And remember, when they say solve it, it means find x and find y. We just found y. We're halfway done. Okay? We're just doing what they asked us. Now that we know that y is 7, whenever we see y, we're going to write 7. But we also get to go back to our original two equations. And let me just make it a little bit larger. Our original two equations, remember, I'm going to highlight one of them with, I don't know, a green and the other one with a different color. And we can pick which either one we, is that, okay. Oh, there it is. We can pick whichever one looks easier to us, to you. Green or yellow, anybody? Which one? The green one? Okay. So I'm going to write the green equation, but the way I'm going to write it, watch carefully, is I'm going to put the y in parentheses just for a moment. 8x, and I'm still going to write 6y, but I'm going to put the y inside of the parentheses. And that's equal to negative 14. So we said a second ago, and we wrote it down too, that that y is equal to 7. So when we see y, we can erase it and replace it with a 7. There's my y. I'm going to erase that y, and I'm going to replace it with a 7. If my computer would catch up to me here. Good. And we also now have an easier equation. It takes a little bit of simplifying. We're going to have to multiply 6 times 7. I'm thinking 42, right? So this becomes 8x plus 42 is equal to negative 14. What the? Okay, sorry. And again, we only have one letter here, so it's a little bit easier than what we started with. We are going to subtract 42 from both sides. Make sure my pen is right. Subtract 42, because they added 42, so we want to subtract 42 from both sides. And like before, that adds up to the easiest number in the world, 0. But we're left with 8x, and I'm thinking negative 56. Okay. Once again, isn't this a much easier equation than we've been working on? It only has one letter, and it's only one stinking equation. So we just have to do the inverse of what they did. They multiplied by 8. We're going to divide both sides of that by 8. Divide this side and this side by 8. The 8 simplified, and we get x equals, oh, I'm sorry, that's supposed to be negative 56, wasn't it? Yeah. Then we're going to get negative 7. Negative 7, okay? And so when we write our answer, which comes first, the x or the y? In the alphabet, x comes first. So we want negative 7 and positive 7 for our y. You don't have to put a little letter on top like I'm doing, and usually they're not both the same number like that, or not opposite numbers in the answer I'm talking about. So let me stop this now.